Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Lunar Orbit podcast, where I provide timely updates and fresh thoughts on the Terra Luna ecosystem. My name is Gerry, and today is Monday, the 14th of February, 2022. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Vertex Protocol and its involvement in Redacted number 3, the Mars Protocol Lockdrop, the Edge Protocol launch, and the new Degen Vaults that Stader Labs are spinning up. Okay, let's get into it. So, firstly, the Vertex Protocol and Redacted number 3. So, as you've probably heard, there's been a series of redacted news releases, things that they've been working on in the background that's created a lot of hype, but they've been somewhat secretive about. I have a feeling this is becoming the worst kept secret of all of them, and that is the potential that there could be, $1 billion or more of Bitcoin backing UST, and then also a bunch of stable coins being minted to provide liquidity for the FX Exchange Vertex Protocol. Now, this video popped up over the weekend, and in my mind, it more or less confirms it. So we'll just give it a quick listen.
So, for example, one of the things that we're creating is that we're creating a multi-billion-dollar forex reserve for Terra stablecoins. So the idea is that there would be currencies like there would be other crypto assets, mainly Bitcoin, against which Terra USD can be redeemed during times of economic contraction. So, for example,
basically, I tweeted this out, and what really surprised me is that Remy here retweeted or responded to it, giving it the eyes, which for me kind of more or less confirms that this is probably on the money or pretty close to it. So, Remy's part of the Luna Foundation Guard. He's also the co-founder of Real Vision, and so he would have the inside knowledge of what's going on with Redacted number 3, because I believe the funds are probably going to be coming out of the money that was donated, or the Luna that was donated from Terraform Labs to the Foundation Council to try and help bootstrap new things that we need in our ecosystem for it to thrive. And the Vertex Protocol is very much one of those. So if you have a look at the Vertex Protocol, and you're not that familiar with FX exchanges in traditional finance, basically it allows people to hedge positions and trade in and out against different fiat currencies and play the exchange rate game between different fiat currencies. So to be able to bring that to the blockchain, where it potentially can trade 24/7 and is a lot cheaper and there's a lot less overheads than the current financial market, I can see that being something that would be valuable over time. And actually in this light paper article here, they mention the actual size of the FX market. It's like $6 trillion in daily volume. And by their guesstimation, if we manage to capture just 0.1% share of that market, we'd be looking at another $10 billion in stablecoin demand, which is basically doubling what we're at the moment. We're about 11.5 billion at the moment. So that would burn an awful lot of Luna to create all of those stablecoins. It's not just UST, it'll be stablecoins in other countries. And that's going to help with Terra Money's global reach as well. Not everybody wants to be pegged to UST. I'm sure a lot of people in Europe would like to have their own Euro stablecoin. I mean, they do exist, but they're just not there in the volume and utility yet. And having a deep liquidity within the Vertex Protocol would start to provide that. Okay, so that looks like Redacted 3. Hopefully that sort of gets confirmed soon and we'll get more details around the specifics on that. So next up, I want to talk about the Mars Protocol. It's got its Lockdrop coming up. So Mars Protocol is a money market similar to, say, Aave or Compound, and it's been incubated by Delphi Digital and Terraform Labs directly. And they've released some information on their Lockdrop. So we just have a quick look at this Medium article on it here. It tells you about the airdrop that's coming and then also the lockdrop. So if you're familiar with the Astroport launch, it's a similar setup to that where they have this lockdrop. I'll just bring up the token categories. So there's going to be a 1% of the total supply airdropped to Luna stakers and B Luna holders. That snapshot happened on the 1st of January. Then there's another 5% that's going to be issued for the Lockdrop participants, and another 1% in phase 2, which is the liquidity bootstrapping auction, which is very similar. These two were basically how they did Astroport as well. The big difference being is that Mars is going to launch straight after phase 2, basically. So there should be immediate utility for the Mars token. We'll be able to start staking it and earning rewards. And I think that Astroport has struggled with that issue. The fact that you can't really use Astro for anything other than providing liquidity means a lot of people have been dumping it, especially with the recent market downturn. So if we just have a little bit further down, this is the launch timeline. So we've got phase 1, you've got 5 days to lock up your UST, and you can lock it up between 3 and 18 months. And there is a basically bonuses based on the length of time that you lock it up for. So you get a 1x bonus if you lock it up for 3 months, 2.8x for 6 months, 5.2x for 9 months, 11.2x for 15 months, and a whopping 14.7x for 18 months. So I think a lot of people will probably be locking this up for a long period of time. So the idea is that you lock your UST for that 18-month period or 3-month period, whatever you decide. And then after phase 1 ends, you receive all of the Mars tokens that you would have received at the end of the 18-month period. You're getting all your Mars rewards up front that you can do whatever you want with. You'll be able to sell them once the actual protocol launches in about 2 weeks' time. You'll be able to sell them. You could stake them for X Mars and start earning rewards. You may even be able to use the Mars as collateral. I'm not sure. So I think a lot of people, I could see that some people will be borrowing against their Luna positions in Anchor and just throwing UST at this and just going, okay, I don't need that UST for, 18 months, pretend it's not there, but then I'll suddenly get this reward straight away in Mars. So phase 2 means that the people that have those rewards, those Mars rewards from phase 1, they'll be able to come along with their Mars and pair it with UST and deposit it into this bootstrapping pool. And that was very similar to Astroport. This is what really determines the market price. Basically, the more Mars that's deposited, the less valuable to be. The more UST that gets deposited, the more valuable it will be. So it's a bit of cat and mouse game as well. But the good thing is there's only a week between the start of this and the actual launch. That's been the big issue with Astroport. There was like a 3-month gap between this and the launch of the governance part of Astroport. So something to keep in mind. Again, there is that airdrop. So some people will have Mars for that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might borrow a small amount of UST and just lock it up for 18 months. But I don't think I'm going to participate in phase 2 where you provide liquidity. I think you do get extra rewards, but I think I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and hold my Mars and either stake it or see what the market price does. And if I need to move it on, then I will consider that. So that's the Mars protocol. But they're going to get beaten to the punch by the Edge protocol, which hasn't had a huge amount of media coverage, but it looks like it's a community-based borrowing and lending protocol. And it's very interesting. It's got some pretty good backers here. These guys are serious VCs, and obviously we all know Dokwon and Hash are heavily involved with the Luna ecosystem. So they say it's community-based, but, you do have some VCs behind it. So I don't know how that's going to work. At the moment, it doesn't have a token. There's no inkling there'll be a token. But if you want to play the airdrop speculation game, consider getting involved with this. It launches, in less than 48 hours. Having a quick look at their Twitter page, and they mention that there's $10 million a capped pool that you can get into. And the really interesting thing is it's cross collateral. So there's a bunch of different assets that are available to deposit. Luna, UST, AUST, B Luna, and Ank from the Anchor protocol, Mirror, and X Luna. So X Luna is the liquid staked version of Luna through Stader Labs. And what that means is you deposit your Luna into Stader, they stake it against validators in the background, and then they issue you LunaX as a basically like an IOU, almost like a receipt. But the cool thing is that the LunaX auto compounds your Luna staking rewards for you. So that's really cool. They actually go on to highlight the potential of what this can suddenly unlock, having basically our first money market in Terra. So it's a key primitive for any blockchain, for any DeFi-based blockchain. You really need a money market for people to borrow against their assets. And then you can start doing all sorts of funky stuff. So in this example here, you could deposit your UST into Anchor. You'll then get your AUST back, which is the yield bearing version of UST, getting 19.5% interest currently. You can use your AUST as collateral on Edge and then borrow against it. And you could borrow more UST and then just deposit it into Anchor and repeat the process. So that's a very low risk way to get some leverage because you're leveraging against the US dollar, essentially. So, that normally doesn't fluctuate by more than about 2% between 98 cents and $1.02 with its peg. So that should be, in theory, reasonably safe to loop a few times. You're probably best doing it in a different wallet to your other Anchor stuff, I'd recommend, just to keep things separate. In saying that, this kind of behavior is what got us in trouble with the Magic Internet Onion Abracadabra, but given this is more of a closed loop locally on Terra, I think it's reasonably safe because you're literally borrowing the same asset. You're not using another stablecoin derivative. It's just UST and then the yield-bearing version of it within Anchor. So that's really cool. I think a lot of people will be really enjoying doing this, farming with stablecoins, either from their borrowed Luna or just as a way to park profits, but still get excellent yield. Because if you loop this a few times, you'll be getting 30 to 40% on UST, which is pretty amazing. So the other example that they give here is using that LunaX that I mentioned earlier. So the idea with this one is that you could stake your Luna in Stader Labs. They'll give you LunaX back, which automatically increases in value over time. It compounds with the staking rewards, and also the stable coins that you get from staking Luna, they market sell for more Luna, or market buy Luna essentially, and then restake it on your behalf. You can use the LunaX as collateral, and that collateral is going to slowly be increasing over time because it's yield bearing, similar to AUST, and then you could borrow more Luna against it. So this is a bit more risky because obviously the price of Luna is far more volatile, and LunaX is far more volatile than the price of UST. So this is a bit more degenerate. You'd want to be pretty careful how many times you looped this. Basically, people were manually doing this very process through Anchor, and that's how a lot of us got caught out and got liquidated. But the fact that this is auto staked, is a little bit of extra yield, and in theory, it should make your collateral, slowly increase over time as well. So pretty cool. If Stader allow you to do this as a Degen Vault, then you won't even have to really manage this yourself. It'll just be coming in and depositing it. So that was the other thing here, Stader Labs Degen Vaults. So that's essentially some of the stuff that Stader could start to do. This sort of thing, automate it for you. So this is just another example of what they're saying, and it highlights some of the benefits of being within Stader. So you deposit your Luna, you mint LunaX, you use it as collateral in Edge and borrow Luna, and then you stake. So they have essentially now have a leverage position on Luna, which is pretty cool. You've just got to manage your collateral within Edge. Now, they mentioned that Edge is a multi-collateral pool, so I think that would mean that you could come and deposit some of those other assets into that one pool. So you might have borrowed Luna, but you could come along and start depositing your Anchor tokens, for instance, or your Mirror tokens, which would be pretty cool as a nice way to. It's going to increase the velocity of money within Terra Luna itself, and that's important for a vibrant DeFi ecosystem. And it also means people can unlock this collateral that they've got locked up. The other benefit, again, with Stader is you earn staking rewards and airdrops, which they manage for you. They auto-compound those returns. The airdrops, they don't. They leave them for you to one-click claim whenever you want and do what you want with. But then they also auto-monitor the validators and have preferred validator sets to make sure that they're good players and not going to get slashed. So yeah, that's about all I've got for today, guys. A quick recap on everything that's happened. So Redacted 3, with the Vertex Protocol, we're going to see a lot of stablecoins minted very shortly, which means there'll be less Luna to go around because it's going to get burnt. We've got the Mars Lockdrop coming up and the full protocol launch on the 7th of March. Edge protocol drops in the next 24 to 48 hours, so maybe get involved with that. Could be a potential airdrop opportunity. And then the Stader Labs Degen Vaults are dropping very, very shortly. Anyway, guys, I hope that was useful. Thanks very much for watching.